vulnerability is often, hailed as a strength in these days and age, right? But not when you're talking about a narcissist. That's a sign of weakness to exploit. They want to use that against you. When you're talking about a narcissist, they get triggered. Let's talk about 5 comments that easily trigger that narcissistic rage, that narcissistic injury. When you're dealing with a narcissist, you're basically dealing with a toddler in an adult body. So, what's the first one? The first one is, I disagree with you. As a lawyer myself, and as somebody who coaches people and trains people in high conflict certification programs, and I train people all over the world, I can tell you that I teach people how to have boundaries. And you absolutely have a right to start looking at somebody as if they are a toddler having a tantrum on the floor and putting that invisible fence down around you, demanding that you have respect and demanding respect for yourself. Okay. I'm telling you that even the most seemingly innocuous phrases can send the most composed people that end up being narcissists into a frenzy. Something that you don't even realize is going on. You just can say, I disagree with you. And all of a sudden they're just over the edge, right? And you can disagree without being disagreeable. It's like, if you're not for me, you're against me. And if you're against me, then you're my enemy. And it's a whole thing with them. Sometimes it just seems like it's a healthy discourse, but in the eyes of a narcissist, it's a direct assault. A lot of times it's their perceived superiority, and they thrive on control, they thrive on dominance. They're extremely insecure. Loyalty is a big thing, and any challenge to that is a perceived slight, and any challenge to their authority is met with swift retaliation. They don't trust anybody. Even the smallest thing can lead to expressing triggers and rage and conflict with people. And all of a sudden they're just out of control, and then they lose relationships as a result. I mean, I've seen people in meetings with a narcissistic colleague who might propose an idea. If you disagree with it, no, I don't think that's a good idea. And if you voice your concerns respectfully, and you try to have a rational discussion, and instead of a rational discussion, their demeanor completely shifts, their tone becomes condescending, they dismiss your viewpoint with disdain. And if they're your boss or something, I mean, you could get fired over it. That's why I teach people how to have certain types of communication techniques so that that doesn't happen. I mean, you can maintain your assertiveness, you can assert your boundaries without inciting a war. The next one is, you hurt me. Here's the thing about narcissists: they don't want to have to deal with your needs. Your needs trigger them. They take that personally. They feel like they don't want to have to deal with you and your needs, and serving you and your needs, and dealing with you and your stuff. And so that triggers them big time. The vulnerability is something that to them is like, now you want something from them. Now I'm going to have to deal with you and something that you want. I don't want to have to give you anything. I don't want to have to serve you in any way. And so that triggers them. It triggers defensiveness. And so that causes problems as well. That might cause angry outbursts, rage. If you try to have a conversation with, let's say it's your romantic partner, can cause them to lash out at you, accuse you of being overly sensitive, or why are you bringing that up now? Or I didn't hurt you, or you're being overly sensitive, or you're being irrational, or that didn't happen, gaslighting you in some way. Attempting to communicate honestly with them is met with a barrage of gaslighting and blame shifting and defensiveness and projection and deflection and lying and denying. For you, you need to remember that your emotions are valid, your needs are valid. You have a right to have needs, you have a right to have emotions. They have shortcomings, they have limitations as a result of their own trauma and their own issues with their, whatever it is that happened to them in their childhood. So it has nothing to do with you. With narcissists, being able to have a conversation with them in a certain way, a certain timing, a certain approach. I mean, you might be able to have a more productive conversation in a different way, potentially, but maybe not. If this is resonating with you so far, give me a for sure in the comments. The next one is I need space. I need space. They don't want you to have independence. They don't want you to be going away from them. That means like a loss of control might hit on their fear of abandonment. They need control. They need validation. They need their supply source. And if you assert autonomy or boundaries, it's perceived rejection. That mere suggestion of distancing yourself triggers those feelings of abandonment and igniting that desperate need to regain control or at any cost. This is where you're going to start to see, and I've seen this in my cases, I've seen this in the cases that I've worked with in my high conflict certification cases with the people that I've worked with, the cases that I've coached. People then have to deal with setting healthy boundaries, and that's really, really important. If you are in dealing with a romantic partner who is constantly invading your personal space and you need personal space to recharge or reflect, you take it. You put those boundaries up. Those boundaries are your bridges. Boundaries are bridges. Remember that to your new life, your new beginning, your new healthy self. Their response is their response. It may mean a torrent of accusations, and it may be guilt tripping, and it may be manipulation, but it just means that you need to do what you need to do. And by the way, if you need phrases for disarming narcissists, get them at disarmthenarc.com. Disarmthenarc.com. Get your free phrases for disarming narcissists. Join my free private Facebook group, Narcissist Negotiators with Rebecca Zung. Do what you need to do to get the support that you need. Next one is you're being selfish. You're being selfish. If you say this to them, this will totally trigger them because they don't want to be hearing that they're actually being the way that they are. They view themselves as superior, deserving of constant admiration and attention. And any suggestion of them being selfish challenges this illusion. They want to hear about how wonderful they are, how amazing they are. This will lead to swift backlash, immediate backlash. They will deflect blame onto you, painting themselves as the victim of your cruelty. You will be the selfish one, and they'll go tell everybody about how horrible you are. They will become the victim. Do not confront anybody. I mean, if you go to try to confront a narcissistic friend about their habit of monopolizing conversations and disregarding your needs, they will unleash everything about you and painting, insults of you being the selfish one in the relationship. Their need for validation will outweigh any consideration of your feelings or boundaries. And the last one is I'm done. If you say I'm done, that will totally trigger them. And walking away is the ultimate act of defiance in a narcissist manipulation. And it signifies your refusal to be ensnared in their web of manipulation and their web of toxicity any longer. And be prepared for their final attempt to manipulate and control you, whatever that looks like. So, they might have some kind of toxic meltdown or guilt trip or whatever it is that they're going to do. So it could be all sorts of things. I mean, it probably is going to be 40 different things. That could be filing false pleadings. It could be smearing you to other people. It could be showing up at your house or office or whatever it is. But, summoning the courage to end this relationship that's draining you, that's diminishing your self worth, is going to be the best thing that you ever do for yourself. And when you get on the other side of this, you're going to be so much stronger, so much better, so much more clear headed than you've ever been in your life. So declaring your independence is going to be the biggest Independence Day of your life. As they unleash that barrage of whatever toxicity, think of this as your Independence Day. There you have it, warriors. 5 comments that easily trigger that narcissistic rage. And remember, knowledge is your shield, it's your strategy, it's your sword in this battle against manipulation.
Now, if you are dealing with a covert narcissist or any kind of narcissist, whether they're overt or grandiose or malignant or covert, is what we're going to be talking about today, or a combination of any of the kinds of narcissists, then you're dealing with a hellish personality, a heinous personality. But there are some things about covert narcissists that can make them even more insidious than the other types of narcissists. And for those of you who have watched my other videos, which you will want to check out on covert narcissism in relationships and the covert passive aggressive narcissist, and I'll drop links to those below, you know that I have a personal experience with dealing with covert narcissists. Not as husbands, but as people who were close to me, who I became the target of these heinous creatures. So, this is the kind of narcissist that I personally disdain the most. So, in some ways, this is like my PSA, my public service announcement to warn you against these personality type or this personality type and what to look for in this personality type. So, one of the things that you should know about covert narcissists is that they are 100% narcissists. So, they have what Dr. Craig Malkin calls the triple E, which is that they exploit, they feel entitled, and they lack empathy. So, they still are all 100% narcissist, like all narcissists are. And the other little kind of dangerous thing about covert narcissists is that they can sometimes be grandiose narcissists that act covert, which is kind of confusing too. You know, sometimes these different types of narcissists actually vacillate back and forth between the the various signs of the types of narcissists they are. But what I'm going to be talking about today is actually more of your pure covert narcissist, which is the kind that I've actually had to deal with, and why I think that they're so dangerous. Because, you know, if I could be fooled, then anybody can be fooled. And I really just had to literally work these people out of my life in the last year. So, and it was not easy. And they still try to pop back up and pop back in because that's what narcissists do. They never really let go, they never really um, move on completely. You know, sometimes it can be years before they pop back up again, but that you can kind of minimize it and protect yourself in a lot of ways. And that's why I'm doing this video, because I want you to know the signs of abuse. Okay. So the thing about covert narcissists is that they don't look on the surface like regular narcissists. Regular narcissists, what I call the garden variety narcissist, is more of your grandiose varietal, the kind that goes around telling everybody how great they are all the time. Covert narcissists don't do that. And that's one of the things that I think is so dangerous about them, is that on the surface they appear very nice. They appear like good people. Lots of people love them. They can be politicians, they can be clergy, they can be lawyers, doctors. They're often in positions of respect because, of course, they're narcissists. They feed on that respect. Remember that the narcissist actually has no inner sense of internal value. They get all of their sense of value from the external. They need endless amounts of what we call supply, which is anything that feeds their ego, anything that feeds their external value or their feeling of external value. So, supply can be in the form of money, compliments, prestige, anything that they think is going to give them more value. So here's the problem with a covert narcissist, and one of the things that is so dangerous about them is you're not going to hear them say, I'm the greatest, look at my ratings, look how fantastic I am, I'm so smart, I'm the number one this, I'm the number one that, without anything to back it up. They just go around saying all of those things, because they feed on that. They need to have it. Okay. So what a covert narcissist is more likely to do is put themselves in positions where they're going to get all of that, but they're not actually going to have to say overtly. And so we're told that, narcissists are brash, braggadocious, loud, assertive. Well, the thing is that covert narcissists don't come in that format. They're usually much nicer. They start off by, giving you lots of things. That their version of love bombing is often being the perfect person for you. And, they can put you in positions that you want to be in, or give you speaking engagements that you think that you want, or introduce you to the person that you want to be introduced to, or they're the perfect cook or the perfect mother, or whatever it is that you want. This person just seems so nice and so wonderful. And yes, malignant narcissists can do that too, but the difference with uh, covert narcissists is that they don't come off that way, where they're loud and braggadocious and flashy. They come off as really nice, sometimes even quiet, sometimes passive, sometimes demure. So that's one of the things that I think is super dangerous about covert narcissists. One of the other things that I think is really dangerous about covert narcissists is that they come off looking very successful often on the surface. And, grandiose and malignant narcissists can do this too, but grandiose narcissists come off as super ambitious, super successful, whereas the covert narcissist is often, they make it look like they've had that sort of success, but if you look just beneath the surface, they haven't actually gotten that success. And so they have a lot of bitterness and resentment about the fact that, everybody else has more success than they do. And, that their failures are other people's faults because, you know, something happened with their business, or this person sabotaged them in some way, or maybe they were just getting going and they had to close their business, or they had to move, or something happened, and so they have all of these sort of failed ambitions and feeling of emptiness, and they often feel, have a tremendous sense of depression and emptiness, and sometimes they'll even tell you that they have bouts of depression, but they don't tell you it's because of their failures in business. They'll tell you it's, just that they have these afflictions. Because one of the other things about covert narcissists is, they often, are very good at playing the victim. All narcissists do that, but the way covert narcissists do it is that they're kind of sad, and people aren't treating them well, and they just didn't get a good lot in life, and um, the world is unfair to them, and so, they end up feeling depressed and empty, and they often have sicknesses, um, so that they can, get sympathy from people around them, garner lots of pity from people. Oh, so and so's always getting a bad deal. There's a lot of payoff sometimes for being a victim, and a covert narcissist thrives on that payoff from being the victim. So the other thing about covert narcissists that I think is super dangerous is that they're super passive aggressive. And this is the one thing that really was like very confusing for me in the two passive aggressive narcissists that I had to deal with, the covert ones, is that they would do these little things that on the surface would seem so nice. Oh, here, I did this for you. And but while they're doing this thing for you, they're crossing a boundary. Or they don't do something that they say they're going to do. And then when you ask them about it, it's, oh, I forgot, or, oh, I misunderstood you, or, oh, we had a conversation about that, remember? And we decided to do this. And it's absolutely not something that we decided to do, but it's them trying to make an excuse for behavior that they know has been hurtful to you. And so they try to get you to say that, basically you went along with that. And when you try, and it's little things, it's that little drip, drip, drip on your forehead, little things. In Debbie Mirza's book, The Covert Passive Aggressive Narcissist, she gives an example of a husband who would go into Starbucks to get coffee, and the wife would stay in the car, and the husband would say, what do you want, anything? And she'd say, yeah, I'll have, a vanilla latte or whatever. And he'd get back in the car and start to drive away. And she'd say, what happened to my latte? And he'd say, oh, I forgot to get it for you. But then he wouldn't go back into the place to get it. So, and it was like a little thing that if you tell somebody, oh, I didn't get the latte that I wanted, then you come off sounding petty. And you start to think, well, do I blow up a whole marriage over that? I mean, that seems so ridiculous. But what they're really trying to do is send you this message that they think so little of you, or that you're not worthy in some way, because that's how narcissists get supply. They get supply by building themselves up and cutting you down. And so they do these little tiny things that in the surface, if you tell somebody about it, it just doesn't seem like that big of a deal. They're very, very passive aggressive, and it can leave you feeling confused and after a while abused and actually traumatized because of the way they act. And if this is sounding really familiar to you, give me a totally in the comments. Is that they're 100% narcissists, but they are really, really good at being manipulative, very good at hiding their manipulation, very good at disguising it as something else, as disguising it as that, I just, did this little thing for you. And that the hair on the back of your neck is standing up, like that's not something nice. One of the things that I've heard during this, I'm taping this while we're still in this global pandemic, is, that the covert narcissist in people's lives are leaving food by the door. And that that's like a message of, I know where you live, or I still have control over you, or I know what you want. But the rest of the world is like, oh, the person left you a care package. How is that bad? Why is that? Well, we all know that the person is so nice. We all know that the person is such a good person. So what's your problem? And so while they're lining up their flying monkeys and they're telling everybody, how wonderful they are, or how wronged they've been by you, because, oftentimes you actually look like the stronger person because they've put themselves in this light of being the nice, caring, kind person. So you obviously must be the one that is wronging them in some way. And you almost feel paralyzed to, like, how do you even um, right that wrong of what people are thinking about you? And the way I've just come to deal with it is, number one, I have major boundaries. I do not look at what these other people are doing. I don't look at their social media. I've blocked them on my social media so that they can't see what I'm doing. and, continue to, have access to what I'm doing. I don't want them to think that I'm interested in what they're doing at all, because I'm not. I just want to look forward, not back. I don't want their energy in my space. I don't want to even be thinking about them. When I go to think, when one of them pops into my mind, I pivot immediately, because the way I look at it is, if I'm thinking about them, then I am not in creation mode. I'm not helping people. I'm not doing things like making these videos and helping you guys, so that you can look forward also and concentrate on your now and the rest of your life, and creating an incredible future. And so I just learned how to pivot and create major boundaries, because I don't want these people in my space, and you shouldn't have them in there either. So if you have to continue to co-parent with them, or you have to continue to live with them in some way, then, figure out a way to protect yourself, so that when they do these things, you're no longer going to be sucked into it. And certainly do not let them see you be upset by their behavior, because then they know that they have you. Then they know that they still have this little modicum of control over you. So here comes more, here comes more. So, the less you can interact, the more you can show that you aren't interested, and you direct your energies elsewhere, then that vibrational energy of connection that you still have with that person will eventually peter off, and hopefully eventually die. So if you are dealing with a covert passive aggressive narcissist in your life, they can be the most dangerous kind of narcissist, because they are the most sneaky, the most insidious, the most stealth, and in some ways the most toxic, because of how good they are about hiding their narcissism and being under the radar. And so, if that is you, I'm sending you blessings, I'm sending you light. From one survivor, thriver, to another, you can do this. Just follow the light, get them the hell out of your life, and look at your now.
This is really going to be an inflammatory topic, because this means that you are in the discard phase. This means that either you have said it's time, or the narcissist has said that it's time. Because when it is danger time, that means that you're no longer in the love bomb phase. You're no longer even probably in that first stage of devaluation, which is where you go right after the love bomb phase. That means that you're really in that push pull phase. You're really in that phase of where that narcissist is feeling threatened. So, I want to tell you from my perspective as an attorney who has been in the trenches with all types of narcissists for a long time, that it is really, really crucial to safeguard your well being. And if you think that you are in danger, make sure that you do whatever you need to do to protect yourself. Get to a place of safety, whether it is a local shelter for abused people, abused women, a local church, a local synagogue, or wherever it is. So let me just say that at the outset. Call the national hotline for domestic violence, whatever it is that you need to do to get yourself to a place of safety. So let me say that at the outset. Call the police, call 911. There is always something that you can do to get yourself to a place of safety. So let me say that at the outset. I am Rebecca Zung. I am an attorney. I've been recognized by US News as a best lawyer in America. I've also been a globally recognized narcissist negotiation expert. I have a best-selling book, Slay the Bully, How to Negotiate with a Narcissist and Win. And if you're new here, welcome. And I invite you to subscribe here and hit that notification bell. I release brand new videos every single day for you, so that you can be empowered and get the help and support that you need. And we've built an amazing community here for people to get the help and support that they need. And it's for you. Signs that you are in danger: when a narcissist feels slighted, when a narcissist feels like they're going to be exposed, when a narcissist feels like their grip on their source of supply is slipping. Any of those things can potentially trigger something called narcissistic injury in their brain. And that means that that limbic part of their brain, that emotional center part of their brain, is going to be triggered. And that part of their brain takes over. Now they're no longer thinking with their prefrontal cortex. That thinking part of the brain is no longer in control. It's the limbic part of the brain that's now back in control. That emotional center, they're no longer in control, is what that means. They literally are unaware of the collateral damage that they're causing to themselves or others during that period of time. They are in a rage often. When that happens, it's like a flip of a switch. They will take themselves down to take you down. And that's the scary thing. They will go from black to white in the drop of a hat. You are either their friend or their enemy. You're either for me or against me. If you are into that discard phase, then you become public enemy number one. They feel that sense that they're being slighted, when they feel that sense that they're going to be exposed, when they feel that sense that the person is no longer with them, when they feel that sense that you are slipping away or you're no longer on their side, or that you might be leaving, or that there's something going on, then they're going to want to hit you before you can hit them. They're always vigilant. They're always watching you anyway. They're always looking to see what's going on with their source of supply. If they sense that there's something happening, then they will up their ante. Their efforts to control you are going to get higher, stronger, more intense. So if you start to see their behavior becoming more and more intense, their rage becoming more and more intense, their outbursts becoming more and more intense, the way they treat you, their attempts at controlling you becoming more, their surveillance of you becoming more. Where are you? What are you doing? I don't like this. Get over here. Get home. They're becoming more obsessed with what you're doing. These are all signs that something could be wrong, something maybe not be good. And if they are prone to not being stable in the first place, then you might want to have a conversation with a friend or a family member that says, maybe we need to have a safe word. Maybe we need to have a safe emoji that says, hey, when I send you the emoji that looks like party hat or whatever, there may not be a little party going on over here. Maybe you need to call 911 for me. They will hit you where it hurts. Legal attacks, financial attacks, attacks on your reputation, going after your friends, your family, your work. I've seen them tell people all sorts of things, that you're a child molester if you're not. Depending on how malignant they are, they don't want you to have it. If you would see a sudden change in their behavior, a sudden change in how they act, a sudden change in their demeanor, a sudden change in how they talk to you, sudden change in how they feel about you, the way they're treating you, it's not a good sign. Those are all bad signs, signs that you might be in danger. Threats, implicit or explicit, the way they might come at you. If they are lunging at you all of a sudden, that's a bad sign. If they're sending you text messages that say you better get home, or things aren't going to go well for you, things that they're saying that are trying to intimidate you to make you feel like you're feeling controlled or instill fear in you. That's not a good sign. If they start to install some kind of physical surveillance, you find trackers on your car, there's cameras installed in your home, not a good sign. All of these are signs that are not good. If they're trying to weaken your support system, isolating you from friends or family, those are also not good signs. If they actually do engage in some sort of domestic violence, it's obviously not a good sign. What can you do? Lean on trusted friends and family for support. Make sure people know what's going on. Document everything, whether it's a notes app in your phone in real time. You are keeping track in a journal, making sure you text, email, whatever you need to do. Photographs, witnesses. Don't go places alone. Set firm and clear boundaries with the narcissist. Always demand a level of respect. Put that invisible shield down around you. If this is resonating for you so far, give me a yes, it is in the comments so far. If it's appropriate for you to start interviewing attorneys, then go ahead and start doing that. If that's the type of situation that you're in and that's something that you need to do, then go ahead and do that. Gathering financials, gathering a stash of cash if you need to. Those are all things that you might need to think about depending on your situation. Self-care is so important also. Taking care of yourself, taking time to breathe, educating yourself, getting knowledge, doing things like this, watching videos, right? Talking to the right people, getting information. Knowledge is power. They thrive on, you're never going to see your kids again. You're never going to do this. A lot of times it's just so much crap.
Narcissists. Okay. So they are like toddlers. They're literally like toddlers who are living in adult bodies. They're like 2 year olds. So they've never really gotten past what it means to be a toddler, right? The world revolves around them. Do you remember like the old um, poem or whatever it is, the Toddler's Creed? If I touched it, it's mine. If I looked at it, it's mine. If it's mine, it's mine. If it's yours, it's mine. If I was playing with it and I put it down and I want to go pick it back up later, then it's definitely still mine. That's kind of how they are, right? Because something happened with them when they were toddlers or maybe even a little bit older. Something happened in their childhood that caused them to think that the world is not a safe place, to think that the world is a place where they have to survive, where if they survive or if somebody else survives and they can't, they have a very, very fragile sense of self. And so when you're going to negotiate with them, it's really important to understand why they are trying to provoke you, and especially in situations where you are negotiating with them, because it's like mind-blowing sometimes, and you find yourself in these situations where your brain is just going, wondering, what are they going to do next? Who are they talking to? What's happening? All this sort of stuff, because you're trying to figure out, where are they going? Where are they going? Where are they going with this? Where are they going with this? And I'm just going to tell you what a fundamental problem is when you're negotiating with narcissists. The fundamental flaw in the reasonable person way of thinking is that the narcissist is trying to also come to a resolution. So you find yourself saying to yourself, well, where are they going with this? What is it that they want? I'll just give it to them. And that's a fundamental flaw, because it all comes down to narcissistic supply. That's what it always comes back to with narcissists. And if you want to know more about narcissistic supply, definitely check out my video on that topic. I've kind of come up with this hierarchy, and that is that narcissists
they want everything that can feed their ego, of course. They're like supply whores. They're literally like the junkyard dogs looking for food. They're foraging for food. And wherever it is that they can get it, they'll take it. They want it from every source possible. And they're literally highly skilled at figuring out what your weaknesses are and zoning in on those. But all that being said, there is a level of supply for them that means more to them than the supply that they get from you. And that is how they look to the world, how they look to the community, how they look to people they respect. If you're in a court situation, it's how they look to the judge, how they look to the lawyers, how they look to the mediator. So they're going to be trying to get that supply from every source that they possibly can. But mostly from those people. Okay. They want to be adulated. They want to be respected. They want to look like they're the good ones. They want to look like they're the winner. Because, for narcissists, the world is very black and white. It's winners and losers and, people who matter and people who don't. I mean, it's very, very black and white for them. So they've got this diamond level of supply, and then there's the coal level supply, what I call the coal level, which is sort of like it burns, but it gives them energy, but and it matters to them. It's definitely very important, but when push comes to shove, they're going to protect that diamond level supply more than anything. So when they're trying to provoke you, it's actually what I call coal level supply. And the reason why they're doing that is because if they're no longer going to get diamond level supply out of you, because you're not adulating them, doing things for them, respecting them, doing, all that sort of thing, then they're going to get supply from you in the other direction, which is making you squirm, making you sweat, intimidating you. So, number one, the reason why they provoke you is narcissistic supply. And number two, the reason why they do it is because they enjoy watching you squirm, which is really kind of part of number one, the narcissistic supply. They enjoy watching you squirm. They love watching you sweat. They love getting you down into the mud with them. If you're upset, that actually gets them off. They enjoy it. And if you know this to be the truth, I want you to give me truth in the comments right now. You guys watching here, you know that I speak the truth. They enjoy when you're upset. They like that. So that's part of the reason that they enjoy provoking you. It's sort of like, for those of you out there who have siblings, I have a younger brother, so I know this well. When you were a kid, you used to do things to your siblings just to like annoy them, and you thought it was funny, right? I mean, I remember my brother and I used to, ride in these long car rides, and we'd have this like line going down the middle of the back seat, and that was his side and this was my side. And we used to just like lay one finger over the other side, like just to like annoy the other person. Oh, you're on my side, we thought that was funny. But that's what I'm talking about, that toddler mentality. They're like children, right? So they enjoy it. It's funny. The other reason why they do it is because they get attention. They don't like it when the attention is not on them, so they like to provoke you because then they get attention. So they do that in the most inopportune times, like, at vacations or holidays or gift giving. And if you want to know more about narcissistic gift giving, definitely check out my video on red flags of gift giving. Then like you definitely are with a narcissist. But they ruin holidays. They do all these sorts of things because then they get that attention back. They don't like when the attention is on someone else. They also enjoy making you jealous, because Again, that makes you squirm, that provokes you. They enjoy lining up their flying monkeys because they want you to feel isolated. They want you to feel alone. They want you to feel like there's something wrong with you, or like you're the only one who thinks a certain way, which is something they like to say, by the way. And definitely check out my video on that. Narcissist favorite sayings, but that's definitely one of them. You're the only one who thinks this way, or everyone else thinks blah, 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 because they're trying to make you think like you've been beaten, that they've won. They want you to squirm. They want you to feel intimidated. They want you to feel scared. And so these are all the reasons why they love to provoke you. It's really all a method of control. They want to control you. Um, they want you to still be in their web. And so if they sense that you're pulling away from that web, they're going to find ways to keep you engaged in there, one way or another. And one of the ways that they can do that is definitely provoking you. So one of the things you definitely want to do is make sure that you're not provoked. Don't allow yourself to go there, because then you don't give them that narcissistic supply, especially when you are engaged in negotiations. It always seems like there's that like underlying rage, right? Why is it that they seem like they just kind of like hate you, even though you're doing everything for them all the time? I am here to help you. I've done literally thousands of mediations with people. I've helped people go from that drama, trauma, and chaos to step into lives of freedom, possibility, and purpose as an attorney, as a high conflict negotiation coach, as a person who's helped people with the certification programs that I have. So I want to help you. And today we're going to talk about why they're always angry. But one of the reasons is that they have this fragile self esteem. I know they seem like they're so confident all the time, but they're hiding what's really going on. There's like kind of two parts to them that happened once when they were children. And it's almost like they split into two. They have like this representative part of them that's out in the world, but the true self, the one that's inside of them, it's like they have this false self and then they have a true self. And the true self is very, very fragile. So they have the false self that goes out into the world, but the fragile self is hungry. It's hungry for needing as much supply as possible. It's an empty shell, and it's a dark black hole that can't ever get enough. And they're angry that everybody else seems to have what they don't have. And they're jealous. They're just scarcity to the utmost extreme. They feel like everybody else has love and they don't. And everybody else has what they want. And so they feel resentful, and it's just a constant state of unease. It's really a dis-ease in some way. They feel not connected to the world. They don't feel connected to people. They don't feel connected to themselves. They don't feel connected to anything. And I know you empaths out there are going, oh, I can help them, but you can't. It's really their own deep seated insecurities. And no matter what you do, it almost is like the more you do for them, the more resentful they are. But yet they're resentful if you don't do it either. It's sort of like that's the payment for being in their space, is doing things for them. But they need to dominate every aspect of you. And yet they kind of leave you feeling suffocated in some ways. But it's like this deep seated rage. It's an underlying rage that they have because it's covering up, it's a shield for that fragile sense of self esteem that they have. So that's number one. The next thing is control. They thrive on control. That's part of the other reason why they're angry. They know no bounds because they have to have a certain amount of control over you. And if you're not falling in line with exactly what they think you should be doing, or what other people are doing. I mean, they're just angry if this isn't happening the way they think it should be happening. And so they have a very short fuse often. And if somebody asserts their independence, or if something goes wrong, then that causes an eruption. I mean, things are black and white with them. And so you're either for them or against them. And if you're against them, then you become public enemy number one. Fear of exposure and vulnerability. So beneath that facade of confidence is this deep-seated fear of exposure and vulnerability. And that's where you can take that diamond level supply that I talk about. Diamond level supply is their image, how they look to the world versus their true selves. That's a false self. And that's how you can take the coal level supply, which is what, manipulation, and create that leverage. Remember, leverage is how I teach it in my Slay program, is take your strategies, which is what you want, your vision, and create an action plan, which is going to be creating some leverage against a form of supply, which is more important for them to keep than the supply that they get from manipulating you, which is that coal level supply. Unleash it on them. That's what I teach you how to do in the Slay program. That's their fear, though. They don't want to be exposed. The next one is their lack of empathy and emotional regulation. They know that they don't have empathy. And so they're angry about that. They know that everybody else does. They know that they aren't the same as everyone else. So there's jealousy and insecurity about that. When they see other people having emotions, having what they don't have, it bothers them. They don't want to see displays of emotions. They don't want to see displays of affection. It irritates them. That's why when you're upset, you're crying, if you're having an emotional day, that irritates them. It bothers them. If you're sick, that is something that's one of the worst things that could happen. They don't want to have to deal with that. That's something they don't know how to deal with. Lack of empathy. Next one is unmet expectations and unrealistic demands. So they have to reign supreme. If you don't do what they want you to do, then tantrums can result. It goes back to you're either for me or against me. And if you're against me, then you're public enemy number one. They're always looking for these signs of being slighted. And by the way, it can be a tone. It could be a tone of voice. It could be an eye roll. It could be some sign that you did not match what they think the expectation should be in their fantasy world. And if you disappoint them in some way, then you're done, you're out. And that is, the end of it. And if you agree with me, put yes in the comments. And if you're dealing with this, make sure you join my free private Facebook group, Narcissist Negotiators with Rebecca Zung, and grab my free phrases for disarming narcissists, disarmthenarc.com, because you're going to need them for dealing with that in emails, in text messages, in talking to them, so that you can stand strong. You know what to say, you know how to communicate with them, you know what to do. They live in a world of entitlement. So they're always engulfed in this anger, rage. It's just right underneath the surface. Even if it's a covert narcissist, it's right there. You got to break free from that toxic grip. So let's talk about that narcissist's most dangerous lie. They lie about everything, right? Narcissists lie as a way of life. They lie about all kinds of stuff, including things that they don't need to lie about, which is kind of baffling to me. And they even lie about things that are readily verifiable, which is also kind of baffling to me. And if you want to know more about, specifically about narcissist lies, I would highly recommend that you check out my video called Narcissists' Most Common Lies. And I actually do have an accompanying podcast to that too. So for those of you who like to get your information in different kinds of mediums, I do have a podcast. It's on every single outlet where you can find podcasts, and it's called Negotiate Your Best Life. And you can check out that show on Narcissists' Most Common Lies there too. But going back to what the most dangerous lie is, it is not what you think. It's not like, what are they saying that's so dangerous? It's more how it lands for you. And that's why it's so dangerous. And that is the lie that you desperately want to believe. And the reason why that is so dangerous is because they are constantly packaging their lies in a way that you will believe, that you want to believe, that might be plausible, that seems real, that allows you to ignore those red flags that may be going up in your head. And if you want to know more about why people ignore narcissist red flags, I highly recommend you check out my video on that. Anyway, you will be getting these lies, and you're realizing something is off, and you see something, maybe you see a text message come through that doesn't seem right, and you confront them on it. And they have some plausible explanation for it. Or it might not even be all that plausible. But you're just like, you know what? I want to believe this person. I want to believe that my whole life is not a lie. I want to believe that this person actually loves me. I want to believe that I'm not in business with a shark, with somebody who is awful. I mean, they don't seem terrible all the time. Sometimes they seem good. And so you end up processing something in a way that ends up, maybe they get away with their lie because you want to believe it so desperately. And that can happen in a number of different ways. So one of the ways that they package their lies so that you will believe it, which becomes dangerous for you, is something called future faking. And what happens there is that they say, yeah, you know what, this happened, but in the future, here's what life is going to look like. So if it's in business, I'm going to start participating. I'm going to generate all these sales. I'm going to do all this stuff. I'm taking the lead on this particular effort, whatever it is. And then they don't ever do it. And that's future faking. But in that moment, you really, really want to believe it. Same thing if it's in a romantic relationship. You get that text message, or you see that thing happen, or they didn't show up for something, or they didn't do something they were supposed to. They didn't get you the birthday gift they were supposed to. They didn't take care of your kids the way they were supposed to, or blew off your mother, or whatever it is. And you call them out on it, and there you go having a conversation, which is, that's never going to happen again. Let's forget about the past. Let's just think about the future. Let's just take it from here forward, because from now on, you are going to feel appreciated. You will get everything you deserve. You are the best at everything. And whatever comes out of their mouth that they have to say in that moment for you to believe them. And, for a variety of reasons, sometimes you just want to believe them. So you do. And so more time goes by. And now you're investing more of your life and more of your time and more of your energy into this person. And the more you invest, the more you want it to work, the more you want to believe the lies. And if you just think that they are such liars, give me a liars in the comments. Okay, so the next reason why they the way they package their lies is through gaslighting. And gaslighting is something that they use to try to make you think that you're crazy. And if you want to know more about gaslighting, check out my video on narcissists' favorite gaslighting techniques. But they use gaslighting to try to make you think that you're crazy. So, and I've mentioned this before, but I haven't mentioned it in a while, so I'll mention it again for those of you who don't know. It actually comes from this old movie called Gaslight, and I think it was even a play before that, and then it became a movie, and it was like from the 30s or 40s, where the husband was trying to make the wife think that she was crazy. So he would blow out these gas lights throughout the house, and she would say, "Wasn't that just lit?" And he would say, "No, no, it wasn't." And she would then, you know, he was hoping that she would lose her mind. And that's what happens with narcissists. They start to gaslight you. They start to say things that are different than what was said before, or to try to make you believe that something happened that didn't happen, or something did happen that didn't happen, you know, and they just rewrite reality. So, you know, I had a client one time who the ex-wife, the narcissistic ex-wife, threatened to call the authorities on him if he picked up the child at a certain time or something, a time that he was entitled to pick up the child. But she said, "If you do, I'm calling the authorities." So he emails her back and says, "You know, I really don't appreciate you threatening to call the cops on me, and this is exactly why I want this, this, and this done. And I want you to sign this agreement." Well, now she doesn't want to sign this agreement. She doesn't want to do these other things that he wants her to do. So she turns around to try to use it against him in a way and say, "Hey, I never said I was going to call the cops. I said I was going to call the authorities," which is something different. And you know darn well that when she said, "I'm calling the authorities," she meant the cops. But there's a perfect opportunity for her, or perfect example of gaslighting. So now she's saying, "That's not what I meant." And so, you know, he's supposed to go, "Oh, what did you mean? I wasn't that? Okay." And, you know, and then now you're having a conversation about that. A perfect example of gaslighting. But there's a type of lie. Gaslighting is a type of lie that you might want to believe, you know, where they're saying now something different than what they said before, but you want to believe it because you don't want to believe that you are so wrong. I mean, a lot of times we want to believe it because we don't want to have to admit that we've been in a relationship with someone who is so horrible to us, who's so untrustworthy, who's so dishonest. You know, I mean, we don't want to have to believe that ourselves. We don't want to have to think, "Oh my gosh, like, how could I have been so stupid," or whatever. But just remember that narcissists are master manipulators. They're very good at reading people. They're very good at figuring out what it is that you want in the beginning. So you can't beat yourself up over that. So that's the most dangerous lie. The most dangerous lie is the one that you want to believe. And when you were getting ready to negotiate with a narcissist in any situation, business or personal or divorce or whatever, there is also an example of a dangerous lie, because you might want to believe that they sincerely want to negotiate with you, that they sincerely want to settle the case, that they sincerely want to make it right and have it be something that's amicable, when they don't actually. When they are actually behind your back, stabbing your back, doing things to you, and then they say they're not. You know, you want to believe that, and that's where it can be very, very dangerous as well.